So how do you teach creativity? You're a teacher, okay? And this person is only riding to level 10. You've got 1 minute. How do you answer? Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about today, okay? So let's start. Okay, so I know you've had a warm-up, but let's warm up again with me, okay? Yep, so let's play basketball, okay? How can we play basketball? Please raise your hand and offer your suggestion. How can we play basketball together as a warm-up here? How? Does anyone have any ideas on how we can play basketball here? Yes? Sorry? Passing what? Passing a ball? We don't have a ball. How can we play basketball here? Sorry? What ball? Dribble a ball? But what ball? Imaginary ball? Cannot play imaginary ball. Football? We don't have a football. Sorry? Play online? I want to play real basketball, okay? Okay, any more ideas? Pretend. Sorry? Pretend. You don't want to play pretend, want to play real basketball. Okay, one more idea. See if I can get an idea that will work. The person behind there?
Their clothes. We're passing through someone that we want by appearance. Like for example, I passed the ball to the girl with the gray veil, like that.
I think that's too complex. It's not going to work. Okay, so let's forget about playing basketball. Okay, let's forget about it. Okay. Okay, so let's stop there, okay? And I want to ask you, did we get to play basketball just now? No, okay. So the question is, what stopped us from playing basketball? Raise your hand, and so you can share your answer, others can hear. What stopped us? Why did we not end up playing basketball? Yes, the hand at the back there. Don't have, sorry? Oh, don't have the materials, Why didn't we play basketball?
We don't know how to play it.
We don't know how to play in a convention hall, yeah. Did I give you ideas on how to play it?
No, you didn't give me idea.
I didn't help you either.
All right.
So what else? What else stops us from playing basketball? There were ideas just now, right? Say, let's play imaginary basketball, let's play on our app, let's call out the color, let's pretend. But how come we still didn't end up playing basketball? What was wrong with my response? Tell me. Yeah. So it was all my fault. That was why you didn't end up playing basketball. What was wrong with my response? Let's take a look here. So normally what stops us from actually being able to produce creativity? There are certain blocks, and in the creativity literature, we can separate them into 3 broad categories. There are mental blocks, emotional blocks, and cultural blocks. Yeah. So emotional blocks might be being rigid. I say, oh, we cannot play basketball here, right? We do not want to do imaginary. Following rules. This is a convention hall. We can't play basketball like that. And fear of being judged. Okay, let's see what it sounds like in our heads. This is when we can start to monitor. Are we being, like me just now, being a block to creative ideas? What does it sound like in our heads? So mental blocks would be, I can't do that. That's not possible. Did you hear that from me just now? Yeah, I mean, I had lots of those, I said lots of those words just now, right, when responding to your ideas. And the emotional blocks, this is about what's going on in here. Are we afraid? Are we being rigid? Are we don't want to have fun? And what does it sound like? So, cannot do it here. Yeah? This is a convention hall, it's not a playground. We can't play basketball. Or we better not, just in case we get told off. Yeah? So there are blocks in the heart as well, emotional blocks, as opposed to the mental blocks just now, which are up here. We can't do that. We don't have ideas. How are we going to do it? Yeah. Then there are also social blocks. And what does that sound like? Social blocks will be the environment. So we've got blocks here, we've got blocks here, and we've got blocks outside of us as well. What do those blocks sound like? It's like, what will others think? There are people outside. We are teachers. We cannot play basketball in a convention hall. What will the parents think of us? Yeah, so this is what blocks to creativity sound like in our heads. Okay? So, in a nutshell, these are the key words. Blocks to creativity. And if we were to sum it up, this is a can't-do attitude. It's all negative words. It's cannot, should not, it's not possible. What will others think? Okay. So it was all my fault, right, just now, that we didn't get to play basketball? Yeah? Okay, so give me another chance, okay? Okay, so let's play basketball again. Okay, so this time around, we had some ideas just now, right? We had imaginary basketball, we call out a number. Okay, so let's think. Let me ask you, what is the aim of basketball? Raise your hand so others can hear your answer. Sorry. Yeah. Making a score by shooting a goal. Okay, so does anyone have any ideas how we can shoot a goal in this hall? Okay, we need a goal. What can we use as a goal? Oh, we use our hands. Okay, come on up. Come up. Come up. Okay. That's a great idea, yeah? We can use our hands. Okay. So you be the, what do you call it? You be the hoop. Okay, so let's get an idea. Where do you think the hoop should be? Here. Okay, so please come in. Okay. So normally we have two teams, right, in basketball? So should we just divide the teams up this side and this side? Yes, okay. So can I have a volunteer from this side to be the hoop? If no one volunteers, I will point. Okay, please come on up. I saw her. Yep, okay, thank you. Yep, come. You be the hoop. Okay. So now we've got our hoops, we've got two teams, and we want to shoot balls, but we don't have a ball. Who has an idea for what can be a ball? Okay, that's a great idea. Who's got paper? Paper? Do you want to come and show us how we can turn this paper into a ball-like thing? Thank you.
How many paper do you want?
Okay, please come up here and show everyone how you're going to turn that into a ball.
Because we have limited paper, so we just one ball for two.
Okay.
So it's heavy.
Okay. Okay. So then we got the goalpost, we've got the ball, we've got two teams. Now we just need to shoot, but but we want to be safe, okay? Okay, we don't want to damage anything and we don't want to hurt any people, but we want to play basketball. So who has an idea of how we could involve everyone to play basketball, even those right at the back? Who has ideas? How can we set the rules to play this game of basketball?
Music, stop music, play the music, and then when stop.
Yes, that's a very good idea. Do we have anyone who can give music so we can throw this ball? Do you mind going to the back, passing the ball? Okay, so here we've got the rules, okay? What do you think? Okay?
Just start from here.
Yeah, but let me repeat the rules of the game. So 2 teams. The idea is to shoot the goal. First team to shoot a goal into either here or here, okay? So we're gonna have 1 ball, yeah? So please give the ball to someone at the back. They have to throw it and see 2. Okay, first one to shoot the goal, okay? And be safe. The moment I see we are not being safe, I will stop the game, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Maybe you can run down there. Okay, pass the ball back up. First team to score. Okay, come, throw the ball back down here.
Okay, hurry, hurry. Which one is the fastest? Faster, please, faster. The right side, oh, left side. Okay, go.
Okay, go, 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 go.
Yay!
Okay, round of applause. I'll go.
Give a big clap.
Okay. So, did we play basketball just now? Okay. So my question to you now, what made it possible? Okay, teamwork, you scored, right? But we're not in a basketball court. We didn't plan to play basketball. The first time round, we didn't get to play basketball. This time round, we got to play basketball. What changed the second time round? Sorry, raise your hand, 1 person at a time. Yes? Ideas, yes. And what happened with the ideas? Were they accepted or were they rejected? They were accepted, yeah. But did all ideas that were proposed, were they all just accepted, or did we get to discuss them or think through them? We discussed it and we got to think through them. So it's not all ideas are acceptable, but how can we make it possible with these raw ideas, yeah? So there was a crucial difference there. And what was the difference? We had ideas. The first round, we also had ideas, but we still didn't get to play basketball. Sorry? Response from? From yourself. So participants responded. But in the first round, did we get responses? In the first round, we got responses. Play imaginary basketball. Let's pretend. Let's just say the color. But how come we had responses in the first round? We had responses in the second round, but we only got to play basketball in the second round and not the first round.
We don't get the chance because all our ideas are wrong.
Yeah, the first time round, all the ideas were rejected by me. And in the second round, your ideas were accepted by me. Yeah, me as the facilitator, yeah. So that is the crucial difference. There were ideas right from the beginning, brilliant ideas, yeah. And then again, we go back to those 3 categories of blocks. So how, if we've got blocks, then we can also facilitate, right? We can have mental facilitators, and they sound different. There were lots of, well, how can we make this work? How can we make it safe? We don't have a ball. How can we use paper to make a ball? It's all about how. How can we make it possible? What were the concerns? The safety concerns. So how can we be safe? Right? We don't have goalposts, so how can we make goalposts? And then again, there were emotional blocks. So we also have emotional facilitators. So just now the mental blocks were up here. Then we've got the emotional facilitators, which are here. We weren't being rigid anymore. So let's have fun. Let's just relax. Let's give it a go. If we don't give it a go, we'll never know whether it will work or not, right? And let's just dare to be different. Our basketball game, did it look like a conventional basketball game? No. But we kept the essence of it. It still looks like a basketball game, but it wasn't conventional. So we dared to be different. Let's just try something new, yeah? And let's just take risks and see whether it will work. And did it work in the end? Yeah, it works in the end. And someone scored a goal, and the team won. Yep. And there were social blocks. Then, of course, there'll be social facilitators. Just be yourself. Don't be afraid of what other people think about you. We don't care what the people outside are going to think about you guys as teachers playing basketball in this convention hall. It doesn't matter. We just want to have fun and try something new. Yeah. So if you look at this list, what would you say are the key words here? If you were to pick up a few key words in what enables the creative mindset, what would they be? They're highlighted in green for you. Any offers? What would you say are the key words? Okay, I'll show you, yeah? Here are the key words. Whereas before we had, how is it possible, it's not possible, we cannot, but here it's like, well, how can we make it work? There's got to be a way. It's that persistence. There's got to be a way. We want to play basketball, and we will make it work, and we will play basketball. But how? Yeah? And then we go on to overcome concerns. How? We don't have a ball. Well, how do we overcome this challenge of not having a ball? It was discussed in the panel discussion just now as well. We can do the impossible, right? Don't let that stop you. And then the emotional facilitators, it's all about your attitude. Are we going to give it a go, or are we going to say no? Are we going to say we're going to look stupid, or are we going to say it doesn't really matter? Are we going to say, you can't play basketball like that, or are we going to say we can play it differently as long as it looks like basketball? Why can't we change the rules? Why not? We just want to have fun. So this is what it sounds like in your head, and what it feels like in your heart, and then what your environment will facilitate for you to think like that. So if we were to sum it up, this is the can-do attitude, as opposed to just now, we had the can't-do attitude. So the can-do attitude is all positivity, yeah? So like in your panel discussion, you said positivity isn't enough, but it's the beginning. If you don't have this positive mindset, you won't even get to begin. And so to sum it up, with the creative mindset, with the can-do attitude, you get change and learning. What changed just now? The way we play basketball changed. Did we learn? Yes, we learned a new way of playing basketball. We learned teamwork. We learned how to discuss. And with the can't-do attitude, you end up with nothing, stagnation. You will only just get what you've always had, because like in our first go at playing basketball, we ended up not playing basketball because we couldn't play basketball the normal way. So you end up with nothing. You just stagnate and stay where you are. So this is what we can sum up and call the creative mindset. Yeah. So it just boils down to, do you think you can do it, or do you think you can't do it? Do you think it's possible, or do you think it's really impossible? Now I just want you to think a bit. So a room full of educators here, yeah? So what can you, or what can we as teachers do to build that can-do attitude in students? That is what it boils down to. How can we build this can-do attitude in students? Okay. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to think. And I want at least one response. What can we as teachers do to build this can-do attitude in students? Okay, can I have someone raise their hand to offer an idea? What can teachers do to build this can-do attitude in students? Okay, no one's raising their hand, so I will point, okay? Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. For me, maybe for the build up the can-do attitude is also giving the positive vibe to the class.
Yeah.
And give also the good response. Like me before got the bad response and it make me upset. But if I were a student and I get the good response from my teacher, I would be very happy and I will have the energy to try. Even though I cannot, I think I can do it because my teacher says so.
Yeah.
So like that.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that's a key point. The teachers need to create that positive vibe. You've got to want to encourage your students to want to offer ideas. So the teacher is the key in the classroom in order to build this creative mindset. You've got to build that environment and to give specific praise, to encourage students who want to try, even though it may not be a good idea. It may be an idea that may not work, but it's okay. You can just offer your idea and we can then discuss it. Thank you. Yeah, so that sums it up. So far, so we played basketball. So that was creativity. What do we need? We need the creative mindset, and we can call that the can-do attitude. But we also need the open-mindedness and the encouragement from teachers, from facilitators, from those around us. We need that social environment as well. As you saw in the first round when we tried to play basketball, there were lots of brilliant ideas. And there was the can-do attitude, but the environment did not allow creativity to happen. Yeah. The second time around we tried to play basketball, we still had lots of great creative ideas, the creative mindset, but also I, as a teacher or facilitator, was open-minded to receive your ideas and say, let's try, let's see how we can make it work. So you need that environment, and you need the encouragement, and you need the mindset in your students. Yeah. Okay, so we've spoken about creativity, but what exactly is creativity? Yeah, we have some kind of intuition, we know what it is, but if we were to define it, what is it? Okay, so in the creativity literature, you read 1,000 articles, you might get 1,000 definitions on what creativity is, but at the heart of it, it all boils down to these words: new, effective, useful, novel. These would be your keywords in what creativity is. It's new and effective ideas or novel and effective solutions. Yeah? So that's what we're talking about. So if we were to apply this back to our basketball game, did we come up with some new and useful ideas, remembering that our objective was to play basketball? We did. We came up with some new and useful ideas because we ended up playing basketball as well. And so we had a solution to how can we play basketball in this convention hall. Okay, so if we continue, so we've spoken about the can-do attitude. We've spoken about the importance of the environment. It needs to be open-minded. It needs to be encouraging. But what about creative thinking? Just now, in order for you to respond and come up with ideas, you needed to think, right? So is there anything we can do to teach creative thinking to students? Okay, so again, there are many creative thinking models in how we can come up with new ideas or solve problems and come up with new solutions. It boils down to a process that looks like this. This has been simplified. But generally, you might have these 5 steps or stages. You frame the problem, come up with ideas, you create an implementation plan, and then you implement your plan. Then you need to monitor and evaluate your plan so you can do better next time. Okay? Implementation is important. If you don't implement, you get creative ideas. But if you want innovation, you need to implement. Otherwise, all your great ideas are still just in your head. So we're going to try this together, okay? But we will only try the first 2 stages together. So, in the creativity literature, what has been recognized now in how people, why is it that some people seem to be so creative? And lots of research has been done on the creative thinking process and the essence of it. And this is also now very common in the business world. Stanford University has a Masters of Creativity program, and it emphasizes what I'm going to share with you now. So basically, what it boils down to is, in each stage of your creative thinking process, you need to do two types of thinking. We call it divergent thinking and convergent thinking. So when you diverge, the key is to have lots of ideas and to just let your mind flow with lots of ideas. Convergent thinking is something we are more used to, and I know that the teachers in this room do this a lot in your classrooms already. The convergent thinking stage, which is where critical thinking comes in. Critical thinking is where you analyze a solution, when you evaluate it, and when you select ideas, and when you throw away ideas that do not work. So that is the critical thinking stage. So in every stage of the creative thinking process, we need to have a balance of divergent and convergent thinking. Okay, so we're going to try that together. So when we're talking about framing the problem stage, the idea flow relates to getting lots of perspectives in understanding the problem. And when we go into stage 2, generate a solution, the idea flow, divergent thinking, is related to coming up with lots of ideas. Okay, so we're going to see how it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do now with everyone is I'm going to push you to diverge in what we're going to do now. Okay, so here's the problem. Your parents have just opened a shop and it is doing really, really well. The shop sells food, okay? And lots of people want to try it, which is great. But the queue is getting really, really long and it is snaking around the neighborhood, okay? Your parents are trying their best, they're cooking, they're preparing, but they cannot keep up with the demand. But people are getting bored. And obviously you and your parents do not want the people in the queue to walk away. Okay, so that's the problem. Okay, so if we go to stage 1, frame the problem. We can look at this problem from 2 angles. Okay, the problem could be, well, I could help the parents. I could help my parents. They've got a problem there. Or I could try to figure out what to do with the people in the queue. There is no right way to decide which one you want to tackle. You could tackle both of them. Okay, this is where your critical thinking comes in. I could tackle one, I could tackle both. So let's just say, for the sake of whatever reason, we have decided, let's just tackle one of them, okay? And we're going to do that together. So just to remind everyone of the steps, we are going to diverge first before we converge, okay? And then the way we want to understand the problem is we ask why. And then when we want to frame the problem, we ask how. Okay, so 2 key question words, why and then how. Okay, so we want to ask why. So let me ask you, in the problem it says that people in the queue are getting bored, yeah? And we don't want these people to walk away from the problem. So why? Why is it that people might walk away from the queue? Too long. Who has ever been waiting in a long queue before? Raise your hand. Yeah. And what does it feel like to be in a long queue? Bored, yeah. So why might people walk away? Because they're bored, yeah? Or they're getting tired. So we ask why. Why might people walk away from the queue? They are tired. They're getting bored. Or maybe they have other things to do. So Someone mentioned if you've been waiting in the queue for a very long time, you get bored. Why? Why do you get bored when you're waiting in the queue? Raise a hand. Nothing to do? Because there's nothing to do. You're just waiting in the queue. There's nothing to do. Right? So we keep asking why until we try to understand the problem a bit more. Okay, so there's nothing to do but to stand and wait, or maybe they are tired. Yeah? So people are bored, they're tired, maybe they're hungry, they've got other things to do. Okay, so then we've asked the why questions to understand the problem. Then now we ask the how question to frame the problem. How can we see this problem? And one way we can do that is we can go back to the whys. So say, oh, people have nothing to do in the queue. So then we could frame the problem. How can we give them something to do then? If that is the problem. Or it could be, oh, they are tired. Oh, how can we help them so they are not tired? Right? And then there are other ways to frame the problem that I've come up here. I've written up on the slide here. Like how to keep their minds busy, how to distract them, how to entertain them. All these are ways we can look at the problem so the people in the queue do not get bored and decide to walk away. Yeah? Okay, so we've got several perspectives now. We've just diverged on framing the problem. And here I've got on the slide 4 ways to look at the problem. So that's the divergent thinking. So after divergent thinking, what kind of thinking do we need to do? So we've just diverged. So now what kind of thinking do we need to do? Converge, right. And convergent thinking is when we think about this critically now. So now we're going to converge. So we need to do some critical thinking. So basically what we do here is we've got 4 problems, we've got 4 perspectives, and we just decide how do we want to look at the problem. You can see that whichever problem we take, we will end up with different kinds of ideas, right? And there's no right or wrong. The critical thinking might be, well, what resources do we have? How much time do I have to put together? Do I have people helping me? Do I have money? Do I have a budget? Right? What are my limitations? So this is where critical thinking would then come in. And then we can say, well, we can choose 1, we could choose 2, or we could choose them all. We could work on them all. So what do we want to do? So this is where critical thinking comes in. So then let's just say, for the sake of bringing this forward, I decide that, well, I think it'll be easier for me to come up with ideas on how to distract the people in the queue and how to entertain them. So let me try to work on these 2 problems. Okay, so I've converged. Okay, so now we have framed the problem. Frame the problem. Now we need to generate solutions. Okay, so when we generate solutions, what kind of thinking do we need to do first? Diverge or converge? Diverge, yeah? And can someone explain to me what is the key to divergent thinking? Sorry? What's the key to divergent thinking? What do we need to do? Come up with lots of ideas. Yes, thank you. Yep, so that is what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to give it a go. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. So listen, everyone, because I've got some multi-step instructions, and all of you are going to attempt this. Okay. So we've got 2 problems now. Okay, this is not really following. Okay, the problems are here, yeah? How to distract people in the queue and how to entertain people in the queue. So this is what I want you to do. You're going to think quietly on your own. I'm going to ask you to come up with 3 ideas for each of these problems, which means that how many ideas will you end up with? 6. Okay, so you're going to end up with 6 ideas. 3 for the first problem, how to distract the people in the queue. 3 for the second problem, how to entertain the people in the queue. Okay, you're going to think quietly on your own, Let's do that first, and then we will move on to the second step. I'm going to give you, say, about 1 minute. So if you've got paper and pen, you can jot down your 6 ideas. If you don't, you can write them on your handphone, or you can send yourself a message. Yeah? I'll give you a minute. So your 1 minute starts now. So try to think quietly on your own. The second step is when you'll be able to share your ideas with your friends. What I'm trying with you now is a process recommended by these business consultants at the Stanford school that runs a creativity program. Okay, there are many ways you can do divergent and convergent thinking, but I decided to try to use this method with all of you today. So basically the idea is think quietly on your own first, and then you share, and then you come back and think again. So no noise, think quietly on your own, come up with 6 ideas. You've got 1 minute. Okay, hello. So please raise your hand if you have 6 ideas. Everyone should have 6 ideas by now if you followed my instructions, okay? So, who has 6 ideas? Please raise your hand. No one. Okay, I'll give you another minute, because we are not going to move on to the next step until everyone has 6 ideas, okay? So, please think quietly on your own and come up with 6 ideas, 3 for each of the problems up here. Okay, if you already have 6 ideas, please raise your hand. Great, thank you. If you've got 5 ideas, can you raise your hand? Okay. If you've got 2 ideas, please raise your hand. Okay, we've got about 90% of the population who don't have an idea. Okay. Okay, so we're talking about the creative mindset. So please, the can-do attitude. You can come up with some ideas. Please, come up with at least, I will reduce the quota, 4 ideas, okay? I'll give you another 30 seconds. Okay, if you already have at least 4 ideas, raise your hands. And if most of you have 4 ideas, we'll move on to the next stage. Who has 4 ideas at least? Please raise your hand. Okay. Okay, 3 ideas? 2 ideas? 1 idea? Okay. Who has no ideas? Okay, I don't understand. Okay, because if 90% of you don't have ideas, but then there are none of you who don't have ideas, I don't understand the math. Okay, so let's assume you have some ideas, okay? Okay, I don't understand. Okay, so now you have thought quietly on your own. So now what I want you to do is turn to the person next to you. It could be your next door neighbor, on your left or your right, it doesn't matter. What you want to do is to share your ideas with your next door neighbor. Please go ahead. If you are 3, you can, no. Okay. Okay, so hopefully now you have heard your neighbor's ideas. So now you should have some inspiration. Maybe your ideas are different from your neighbor's ideas. So now what I want you to do is to think quietly on your own again. And you are allowed to use the ideas you have just heard and just try to come up with 1 more idea on how to distract the people in the queue or how to entertain the people in the queue. Just come up with 1 more idea. The idea has to be different from the ones that you have heard and the ones that you've already written down, but they could be inspired by them. Please go ahead. Okay. I just want a show of hands. Who was able to come up with 1 more idea just now? Please raise your hand. Raise your hand. Hi, you've got to be proud of yourself, yes? Well done. Let's give them a round of applause. Yeah. Okay, for those who managed to come up with 1 more idea at the end, can one of you please stand up? Yeah, please. Yeah, okay. I just want to ask you, I just want to ask you, with that, what was the idea you came up with? You can all stand up, it's okay. What was the idea that you came up with last?
The way to entertain the people in the queue is like we have, I have been faced this before. We offer them if they can follow the Instagram that we have, that our parents have. They will have a giveaway, yeah, something free, maybe some free drinks, free food, maybe something to entertain them.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So do giveaways, yeah? So I would just like to ask, the idea you came up with last, do you think it was more original than your first ideas?
No,
It wasn't?
it came from my experience.
Oh, it came from your experience.
Yeah.
That was the last idea you
Yeah.
had. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So can I have one more person from the audience who came up with an idea in the last round? Thank you.
Well,
Could you share what was your idea?
my first idea?
The last one.
Oh,
you
the
came up
last
with.
one, yeah. After I think again, and then it turns out into, so we will give them like something that they can, later on we can notify them when it's already close to the time.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't even need to
can
wait.
just, what is
They
it?
can go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else, yeah, hang
And come back
around.
later.
Yeah, and then
Thank
we will notify them when it's already their turn, like 3 or 5 minutes until
Right.
their turn.
So can I ask you, the last idea you had, do you think it was a better idea than your first ideas?
Yes, it was a better. Well, actually, I was inspired by my partner
Right.
next to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was thinking. I think it was better if we have like 3 minutes notice first, and then they can come back to the queue, or they can get their
Okay.
turn.
Right. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Right. So what I want to just talk about with why do we need to go through these multiple steps of divergent thinking? Because normally in the first stage of divergent thinking, our ideas are our normal ideas because our brain immediately associates with what we know. So this is probably what you'll get in your first round of idea finding, your first round of divergence. And then you go and listen to your friends' ideas, and then you try to get inspiration. So in the last round of divergent thinking, it should have been harder to come up with an idea. But if you try, you can. Right? Remember the can-do attitude. You can always, we are never out of ideas. So it's harder, but you can. But it also tends to be, but research shows that if you persist with your thinking and push yourself to diverge, your more original ideas will come in your last 30%. That is why it's crucial to get lots of ideas when you are trying to find new ideas or for a problem. Okay, so that is what we did just now, looking for ideas. Now, so when can we apply this? I just want you to think quietly. When can we apply this creative problem-solving process? And when can we apply the stages of framing the problem and looking for ideas? And when can we apply divergent and convergent thinking? So, I just want to ask you, when do you need new ideas for a problem? Do you have any problems at the moment that you need new ideas for? Yeah, if you do, then this is when you can apply this. Okay, so if in your personal life you've got a problem, you've used lots of old solutions, nothing is working, this might be the time that you can apply creative problem solving and divergent and convergent thinking. Now, going back to us being teachers, could we use the same creative problem solving process and teaching divergent and convergent thinking, getting the balance, and pushing for the idea flow in our students? When can we teach them this, or when can we ask them to do this? You can ask your students to diverge and to practice divergent thinking when you ask them to think of new ideas. So I want to ask you to just think quietly for a moment now. When do you ask the students to think of new ideas? Okay, I'm going to ask one of you to share. Can anyone share an instance when you might ask the students to come up with new ideas? Okay, anyone is going to raise their hand to share? If not, I will point to someone. Yep. Thank you. So when, as a teacher, do you ask the students to think of new ideas in the classroom?
When there's already the idea, and then as the teacher, I came up with the challenging problems for them, so they could find another way, another solution for the problems.
Thank you. So is that a time when you can ask them to do divergent thinking?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so what problems do you give your students that need new solutions? Just give that a think. Throughout your academic year, when do you give your students problems and ask them to come up with new solutions? Does anyone want to share? Yes?
Okay, what problems do you give your students that need new solutions? Okay, actually in kindergarten, when they have final assessment, so we prepare what they need, what they want to do. Suddenly, sometimes they argue, because when they are doing in group, they will give ideas, right, each other. So 4% will be different, the ideas. So that's the problem between them. So as the facilitator, so we just, what do you want to do? How to make it this one? So is it possible if we do like this?
Right.
So as the facilitator, we just facilitate them, what do they want to do?
Right. So thank you. So is that a time when you can ask them to do divergent thinking?
Yes.
And give them an idea quota. Come up with at least 6 ideas.
Yes.
Right? You have to push them for it. Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you
for
very
sharing.
much.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. So you can apply this creative problem-solving process and divergent and convergent thinking and push your students to practice divergent thinking. This is, if you had to teach one thing in thinking to push for creativity, it would be divergent thinking. Convergent thinking is taught a lot in schools, but if you want creativity, you need to go for that idea quota and you need to go for quantity of ideas. It is very common and it's commonly used in the business world as well now to come up with innovation. Okay, so when can you use this? When you ask the students to come up with new ideas, or when you give them problems to solve and ask them to come up with new solutions, is when you can use this. Okay, so we go back to our big picture of creativity. So we started with what is creativity. We've spoken about the can-do attitude. We've spoken about the environment is important. Teachers need to facilitate it. Teachers need to be open-minded. You need to be encouraging. You need to praise your students when they're coming up with imaginative ideas. And you've got to be open to discussing with them, how can we make this work? And we have just explored creative thinking, the key to which is a balance of divergent and convergent thinking. Convergent thinking, which is critical thinking, commonly taught in the classroom, so try to also push your students to practice divergent thinking. Okay, so now let's go back to our original problem. You are in the lift, and your fellow passenger asks you, so as a teacher, how do you teach creativity? Can you answer that question before your fellow passenger gets out on level 10? Yeah. So can someone come up to summarize? So what can you do as a teacher to teach creativity? Do I have a volunteer? I have a volunteer?
Okay, thank
Okay,
you
come
very
to the
much.
front. Come to the front.
Come to the front.
Yeah, come to the front. Okay, we've got 5 minutes, and you've got 1. Okay, thank you. Okay, so you're a teacher, right?
Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
okay. We are in a lift, okay?
Okay.
We are in a lift. I'm getting off. Jing, I'm getting off at level 10. Yeah? And I say to you, so you're a teacher.
Yes.
So how do you teach creativity? What are the things you need to do?
For me, if I give opportunity to my children, I never say no.
Right. So the can-do attitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always give positive vibe to them.
So that's the environment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then even though they are giving a negative thought, I just only ask, why did you think that?
Right.
Because I have experience with my student with always thinking about negative things. I never say, you cannot say that, no. But I say, why do you think that?
Right. So we need to explore their thinking to know what's going on in their mind. We need to be open-minded and encouraging and don't reject their ideas, right?
Yes.
And then what's the last thing you need to do to teach your student to be creative?
Always give encouragement to them.
Yeah.
Like when they say, I cannot draw like you, I cannot write nicely, I cannot count. So we have to think a possible way that the children have, because every children have different levels. If they cannot use with the hands, they can use the objects.
Right.
If they cannot make a circle, we can make a square.
Right. So this is the can-do attitude. There's got to be a way, right, that we can do this. And in teaching creative thinking, what would you be teaching your students to do?
I
What
always
kind of
ask
thinking?
again and again, as simple as morning routine, for example, when we sing, what is called Sunday, Monday, the 7 days of the week song. Sometimes when I ask them, what is the movement that you want? If he or she always use the same or always give the same movement, I will ask, find the other, find the other.
So when you're asking your students to find another idea, are you teaching them to diverge or converge?
Okay, I will say diverse.
Yeah, okay, that's the correct answer. Okay, okay, I'm at level 10. I'm getting out of the lift now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so thank you very much. So how do you teach creativity? You develop the can-do attitude in your students. You yourself have to be open-minded and create that open-minded and encouraging environment for your students, and teach them to get a balance of divergent and convergent thinking. Don't just focus on critical thinking. Idea flow is very, very important for creativity. So thank you very much.